मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमपदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्से नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So today we are discussing this verse number 61, which talks about the soul's identification with the subtle body, and this identification leads to the gross body. Actually, this question was asked by King Prachani Parishad to Narada Muni that somebody has performed activities in the past, why is he getting reactions in the present? Because the body with which he did that activity is gone, it's burnt or buried. So why is he held responsible? So in answer to that, Narada Muni is telling here that actually it is a subtle body through which is the cause of all the desires. All the desires are stored in the subtle body and they manifest through the gross body. Although the gross body may be destroyed, but the subtle body still exists because he is held responsible. Like another example can be given that if some thief commits a crime wearing a blue dress, but later on he wears another red dress or a yellow dress, but still he is caught by the police. Just because he wore certain kind of dress doesn't mean that he is not punishable. He is punishable. If somebody was having a different body, the soul was having one kind of body, he did some crime, later on he changed his body, but still he is held accountable and he is punished because the doer was the same. Right? The tool may be different. The body is a tool to do action. So the body may have changed, but the person remains the same. So that's why he is held responsible and he is punished. So here the example is given, an analogy given to explain this concept, that when we are dreaming, right, shayanam, when you are dreaming, when you are sleeping, our external consciousness is not there, and in our mind we identify ourselves with the dream. Sometimes we dream of becoming a king, sometimes somebody becomes a prime minister in the dream, right? Somebody becomes a god or a dog. Prabhupada says both. It's not there in the shloka, but Prabhupada adds that. He says sometimes one becomes a god or a dog. Right? Sometimes one dreams of a golden aeroplane and is flying in the golden aeroplane. Right? He goes all over the world and comes back. So such kind of identity we get in the dream. And actually what is happening there? We forgot our identity of this body and we identify with the personality in the dream and we relate to it, and whatever happens in the dream, it affects us, isn't it? So sometimes it is a good dream, sometimes it is a bad dream. I had one person who was sleeping and he got a dream that he is in a forest. And he was enjoying the scene in the forest and suddenly one tiger came. He started running. And running and tiger was chasing. And he was running and the tiger was chasing. So like this he was sweating profusely, heart was beating, palpitating, dub 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 dub. So after some time he came back to consciousness and he saw his body is fully wet by the sweat and his heart is palpitating still. Yes, what happened? He identified himself with the character in the dream, and then that experience of the dream was so real that it had an impact on the body, isn't it? So, so in this way, bad dreams are there. Sometimes good dreams are also there. He sees some wonderful things and he feels very happy. Yeah. So in this way, the point here is that we change our identification with the gross body. The example given here is yatha shayanam imam utsrujya shvashantam purusho yatha. Although the body is breathing, the soul has left that breathing body, identified himself with other bodies, and again came back to this original body. Similarly, at the time of death, the soul completely changes the body and never comes back to the old body. That's called death. So, if the difference between dream and death is what? In the dream, we identify with some body and again wake up in the same body. And death means we completely forget this body. When we close our eyes, we forget this body, and we open our eyes, we are in another body. Right? Sometimes it may be two-legged body or four-legged body or with two wings. It can be whatever. So that is the difference between dream and death. So Prabhupada sometimes said, every night you have experience of death. Every night, sleeping 6 hours is nothing but experience of death only. We are completely aloof, completely unconscious of what is happening around us. So death means what? Prolonged unconsciousness, prolonged absence in this external consciousness. That's called death. So that is a basic difference. So let's go through the purport. Prabhupada very nicely explains. Although the root of distress and happiness is the mind, intelligence and ego, a gross body is still required as an instrument for enjoyment. The gross body may change, but the subtle body continues to act. Unless the living entity gets another gross body, he will have to continue in a subtle body or a ghostly body. One becomes a ghost when the subtle body acts without the help of the instrumental gross body. Prabhupada ji bhoot ke baare mein bol rahe hain aap. What is a ghost? Atma with subtle body. That's all. Gross body is absent. And for the soul to enjoy material pleasure, it needs gross body. Subtle body is not sufficient. To interact with this material world, it needs a gross body. With the gross body only it can taste, feel, see and experience the contact with matter, samsparsha, bhoga. That the contact of senses and sense objects can happen only with the gross body. So the gross body is required for enjoyment. But the root of this enjoyment lies in the desires in the mind. Right? The desires are the root. Prabhupada is saying that although the root of distress and happiness is the mind and intelligence and ego, that is the root, but to give the fruit you need a gross body. To experience happiness and distress you need the gross body. So in this way, Prabhupada is saying here that ghostly bodies have a lot of suffering. Why? Because ghost wants to enjoy but he is not able to enjoy. He wants to eat. The sensation of hunger is there but he cannot eat. He wants to drink but he can't drink. And that's what ghosts do. They try to possess another's body. They enter into another's body and through that body they try to control and enjoy this material world. Right? A beautiful example was given to explain this. Suppose you are owner of a home and you have fridge, washing machine, TV, all the items in the home, And one thief comes inside, ties your hands and legs, put you in one corner, and start operating the entire house. So ghost possessed bodies like that. Right? Foreign soul comes inside and puts us in the corner, and he starts controlling all the body. That's why the voice changes, the behavior changes, his moods change, and he acts weirdly because he's possessed. Because I am also there in this body, but the other soul comes and controls my body and I become helpless. Isn't it? So that's how the ghost possession happens. So one becomes a ghost when the subtle body acts without the help of the instrumental gross body. And ghost body is a punishment for doing some very, very sinful activities. Right? Somebody who commits suicide, he gets a ghost body. Bhoot ban jata hai. So, as stated in this verse, Shayanam ivam utsrujya shvasantam. Right? The gross body may lie on a bed and rest. Even though the machinery of the gross body is working, the living entity may leave, go into a dream, and return to the gross body. जैसे आप गाड़ी चलाते हैं, कार चलाते हैं, कभी कभी कुछ पानी का बॉटल खरीदना है, तो गाड़ी को न्यूट्रल में डाल के, हैंड ब्रेक डाल के, गाड़ी चालू है, बट यू गेट डाउन, गो आउटसाइड, बाय द बॉटल एंड कम एंड कंटिन्यू द ड्राइविंग. ड्रीम मतलब ऐसा ही. What is dream? The body is working, but you park it, you go somewhere in the subtle body, again come back in this body. Right? So the engine is running, but the driver is absent. But after some time the driver comes back and he continues driving. Death means what? Driver doesn't come back. Car crash हो गया. Garage में जाना है उसको. Right? Car crash means we have to, if it is repairable, you go to the hospital. If it is not repairable, you go to the smashan. So that's called death. So the gross body, Prabhupada says, when he returns to the body, he forgets his dream. Right? It happens with us, right? Sometimes we dream, some nice dream is going on, but when we wake up, we forget the dream. And you try to recollect, but we can't recollect. You know? So because it is lost, that identity is lost. So just like we forget the dream, of course many times we forget, sometimes we remember the dream also. So similarly, past lives we have all forgotten. So past life is also like a dream which we have forgotten. Right? It was there, but now we have no access to that memory. So, and some people can remember the past life, just like we can remember the dream sometimes. So many people, not many, some people, right, in the whole world, maybe some 2,000, 3,000 people may remember their past life, and that is recorded by some scientists. So it is a fact that we had the previous life, and we are having the current life, and then we'll also continue to be in the future life. Like before coming to this room, we were somewhere in some other room. Now we are here. And after this program is over, we go to our room. Right? So we existed in the past, we are existing now, and will continue to exist after this class. Similarly, we existed in the past life, current life also we are existing, and future also we will continue to exist. So this is how we can understand this concept. The conclusion is that the subtle body, mind, intelligence and ego create an atmosphere with desires and ambitions that the living entity enjoys in the subtle body. Jai Shri Shri Radha Vinod Ji ki Jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Sudra Maharani ki Jai. Shri Nityananda Natwar Gaur Sundar ki Jai. Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. So subtle body, Prabhupada is saying, it creates the environment where we can enjoy. Actually, living entity is in the subtle body, even though the gross body apparently changes, and even though he inhabits the gross body on various planets. Actually, Atma gross body में नहीं है, सूक्ष्म शरीर में ही है. And that सूक्ष्म शरीर can go to different gross bodies. Isn't it? They say now we are in a subtle body which has the nature of human. So we are in the human body. If subtle body becomes that of a tiger or a bird, we go into the tiger's body or bird's body. Right? This is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 15.8, 9, 10, 11. Right? Shariram yadavapnoti yacha putramatishvaraha gruhitvaitani samyati vayorgandhani vashayat shrotram chakshusparshanam cha rasanam granameva cha adhisthaya manushayam vishayanupasevate. Right? Utramantam sitam vapi bhunjanama gudanvitam vimudananu pashyanti jnana chakshusa. It's very important verses. Where he is telling that how reincarnation happens. Right? So when we are reincarnating, the gross body is left behind, Panchamahabhutas are left behind, and what goes to the next body is Sukshma Indriya, the subtle senses, which includes the mind. Shrotram, Chakshu, Sparshanam cha, Rasanam, Granam eva cha, Adhisthaya, Manashchaya, Vishayanupasevate. So the subtle senses and the mind, along with the soul. Vayor Gandha Nivashayat. Like we smell the fragrance of the rose. The rose is far away and my nose is here. So what is that there between rose and the nose that it is which is bringing the fragrance? But we can smell. Somebody is putting perfume. How that smell is coming to me? Yeah, Vayur Gandhan Yavashat, but we can't see the particles coming. We can't see, very, very sukshma it is. So similarly, how the transfer of soul from one body to another body, along with all the desires, aspirations and karmas is happening, that is very difficult to pursue. But that is happening. But those who are fools, they cannot understand this. Right? So those who are having this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, they can only understand this. Yatantopi akritatmanaha nainam pashyanti achetasaha. So those who are foolish, they cannot understand this. They say, Agla janam nahi hai. We didn't have past life, we will not have future life also. This is the last life. They say like that. But actually, Bhagavatam and also very clearly says that we had a past life, we have present life, we will have future life also. Like next two verses of Bhagavatam talk about future life and past life. How to understand. It's a very interesting concept is being explained there. Like seeing the activities in the present body. Suppose किसी का पूर्व जन्म पता लगाना है. You have to find out his activities, his patterns and see with what species it matches. Like somebody has got the habit of eating anything and everything. Means that is coming from his Purva Janma. Right? Uncontrolled eating or uncontrolled sleeping habits or uncontrolled certain kind of patterns, behaviors. It means that his subtle body has become like that. And that is because of his past activities in the gross body. Pichale janam ke activities ke karan, he has got this kind of body now. Now, what will be his future life? What kind of gross activities he is doing now? Based on that, we can identify, we can see that his subtle body is changing. And when he dies, he will get that kind of body in the future life. So this is what Bhagavatam says, that you can speculate what was his past life or what will be his future life. So that comes in the next two verses. So actually what is Krishna consciousness? Development of subtle body. Purification of subtle body. That is the purpose of human form of life and that to Krishna consciousness. So all the activities performed by the living entity in the subtle body are called illusory because they are not permanent. Liberation means getting out of the clutches of subtle body. Liberation from the gross body simply involves the transmigration of the soul from one gross body to another. See, Prabhupada is telling liberation doesn't mean giving up gross body. Liberation means giving up subtle body. Right? And that is possible by the power of bhakti, by Krishna consciousness. When the mind is educated in Krishna consciousness or higher consciousness in the mode of goodness, one is transferred either to the upper heavenly planets or to the spiritual world, the Vaikuntha planets. One therefore has to change his consciousness by cultivating knowledge received from Vedic instructions from the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the disciplic succession. If we train the subtle body in this way, by always thinking about Krishna, we will transfer to Krishna Loka after leaving the gross body. So Prabhupada is telling that Krishna consciousness means training the subtle body to think of Krishna. And what is the most powerful way of training or transforming the subtle body? Yes, hearing. That's what Prabhupada says, oral reception. By hearing Krishna Katha, with the touch of the transcendental sound vibration, the subtle body gets transformed. So the transformation is possible by Krishna consciousness. If the subtle body is not engaged in Krishna consciousness, only gross body is engaged, then transformation is minimal. But if the subtle body is also engaged in Krishna consciousness, then transformation is faster. So that's why mind has to be brought in the activities of Krishna consciousness. Body is there, right? Now we are offering obeisances, we are sitting and hearing, we are doing puja, we are doing arti, we are taking prasad, but mind is not involved. So Krishna consciousness मतलब क्या है? अपनी चेतना को लाना है ना? We have to bring the mind into the activity. When that mind comes into the Krishna conscious activities and it is serving for Krishna, it is conscious of Krishna, then it's called Krishna conscious. I am doing this for the pleasure of Krishna. I am doing all the activities for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. So that kind of consciousness has to be brought. Just doing physical activities will not bring quick purification. But when that consciousness is also brought, right, then it will be faster. So by hearing, one can quickly purify the consciousness. Shravanam Kirtanam. The Shravanam and Kirtanam leads to Smaranam. Right? Shravana Kirtana, Smarana Vandana, Pada Sevana, Dasare, Pujana, Sakijana, Atma Nivedana, Govinda Dasa, Vilashare. So of these 9 Angas of Bhakti, the first 2 are very important. Shravanam Kirtanam. That leads to Smaranam. And where is Smaranam happening? In the subtle body. Isn't it? Smaranam happens in the subtle body. To the degree we have heard and chanted properly, to that degree Smaranam is possible. Actually, most of the time we are spending in our subtle body only. We are thinking, we are imagining, we are working, we are daydreaming, isn't it? So most of the time we are actually working in the subtle body, but we think that we are in the gross body. But actually, subtle body is quite active, very active, more than gross body. So to the degree our mind is purified, to that degree our subtle body can think of Krishna. Our mind can think of Krishna. But if the subtle body is impure with so many contaminations and bad impressions, isn't it? Then what will happen? We can't think of Krishna, we will get distracted by so many other thoughts. And our subtle body is made up of all the past impressions. अच्छा, गलत, जो भी देखा है, जो भी सुना है, जो भी, and all the movies one has watched, all the bad things he has done, and all pious things also which he had done, all सब impressions दिमाग में रहते हैं. So all these impressions act as a obstacle. And bad impressions act as an obstacle in bhakti, and good impressions will help in faster progress in bhakti. So what we have to do is, we have to remove the bad impressions and create more positive impressions. Right? Chaitanya Chandru compares our mind to a cache memory. No? In computer we have whatever you are using, that is stored in the cache memory, right? So that you can quickly access. So mind also stores everything. Whatever we are thinking, seeing, doing, everything it stores here. And if there are negative thoughts, then that becomes an obstacle for bhakti. But if they are Krishna conscious thoughts, then they facilitate progress in bhakti. So what is sadhana? Sadhana means what? Training the mind with lot of Krishna conscious activities so that Krishna consciousness becomes natural for the subtle body. It will become very natural. So sadhana is meant for that. Whatever rules and regulations starting from morning 4 o'clock till night 10 o'clock we have, that is meant for purifying the subtle body, creating positive impressions so that bhakti becomes very easy. Cheto darpanamarjanam bhavamahadavagni nirvapanam. So when you chant Hare Krishna, what happens? The subtle body is getting cleansed. Na? What is chitta? Chitta means actually subtle body. Right? So yesterday you were reading, I think. Chitta means mind, intelligence, ego. Together it's called chitta, but the functions are different. Right? One portion which functions thinking, feeling, it's called mind. Another portion which functions for discrimination, that's called intelligence. And the portion which identifies, that's called as ego. So chitta is actually one, but functions are different. So then we discriminate as mind, intelligence and ego. So chitta has got all the samskaras. Chitta vritti nirodha yoga. So yoga means to वृत्ति, चित्त का जो वृत्ति है उसको साफ करना, वही योग है. And what is vritti? Vritti is nothing but impressions. Vritti, impressions or thoughts in the subtle body, that has to be changed, removed. Chitta vritti nirodha. Right? What is nirodha? Removal. So when all the material vrittis in the mind are mitigated, then Krishna consciousness becomes easy. So that's why when you sit for chanting, we have a great struggle. Na? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Then there is flood of thoughts coming suddenly. Right? I want to think of Krishna, but the vrittis in the mind become an obstacle. And what do the vrittis do? They show different thoughts. You have this responsibility to do, go and study. Oh, you have to pay this bill. Or you have to make urgent phone call to that person. Or grasthas, they have to get milk. They have to, postman is coming with letters and Swiggy and all those things. So many things they have to do. So when you're chanting Hare Krishna, mind is thinking of so many things because the vrittis are coming up. So, chitta vritti nirodha. When all the vrittis in the mind are mitigated, then Krishna consciousness becomes easy. Thinking of Krishna becomes easy. So this Krishna also tells in Bhagavad Gita. He compares our consciousness to the flame in a room. Right? If you put a candle in this room, because there is wind, flame will flicker, hilta hai. But if you close all the doors and windows, flame will be straight, isn't it? Yatha deepo nivatastho ningate sopamaspataha yogino yata chittasya yunjato yogam atmavan. So it says that yogi, he has controlled his mind so steadily that even if his mind is like a steady lamp in a windless room, pura शांत हो जाता है उसका माइंड. Right? But if you open one window, immediately there is flickering. So yogi's mind should become like that, he says. Steady. And how that steadiness can be attained? By reducing the mental noise. Mind में जो noise है, हवा है, उसको शांत करना पड़ता है. That's called material. Of course, not Krishna conscious thoughts, they are not the wind, but material thoughts, they are compared to the wind, and they have to be shant, mitigated. Then mind becomes steady. So as long as there are material desires in the mind cannot be steady in Krishna consciousness. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana bahushaka hi anantascha buddhayo avyavasayinam. So his mind is multi-branched and is irresolute in purpose. But the Krishna conscious devotee, ek hi maksad hai, only thinking of Krishna. That resolute purpose comes. So this is confirmed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yovetya tattvataha tektva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sarjana. Right? If you train to think of Krishna, then this is our last life. We go back to Krishna Loka. Na eti. Mam eti. He will not come to this material world, but he will come to me. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and disappearance does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in the material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. Bhagavad Gita 4.9. Thus, the change of gross body is not very important, but the change of subtle body is very important. Right? Nowadays, you see people, they want to change the gross body. I look black, so let me look white, fair and lovely, fair and handsome. Okay, my hairs are falling, let me put hair so I can look. His gross body. Most people are focused on gross body, gross looks, color of the skin, right, color of the hair, what kind of muscles they have, biceps and triceps. I was looking at one video of a heavyweight lifter, so very hatta-katta, strong. But eventually he got some kind of nervous disease that he can't even walk now. He has to carry a stick and then walk. So people focus on gross body, but gross body can anytime collapse. So making the gross body attractive and powerful is not the goal. Should not be the goal of Krishna conscious devotees. We should develop our subtle body. That is real development. Right? So Krishna conscious movement is educating people to enlighten the subtle body. The perfect example in this regard is Amrish Maharaj, who always engaged his mind on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Savai mana Krishna padara vindayo. Not just the mind, but all the senses. Isn't it? Savai mana Krishna padara vindayo vacham si vaikunta gunanu varnane karo harer mandiramarjanadishu srudim chakarachucha satkatodaye. Right? What's the next line? Mukundalinga layadarsha nidrisho tadbritya gatra sparshenga sangamam. Then granam cha tatpada saroja saurabhe Srimad Tulasya tadarpite Shiro Rishikesha padabhivandane Padav Hare Kshetra padanusarpane. So Puranam cha Kamam cha dasya natukama kamaya yatuttama shloka janasya. So in this way all the 10 senses and the mind and the desires also. Kamam cha dasya natukama kamaya. And everything was being utilized in Krishna's service. So his gross body and subtle body all were engaged in Krishna's service. But beginning with the mind, Prabhupada says. Right? Savai mana Krishna padaravindayo. Similarly, in this life, we should always fix our mind on the lotus feet of Krishna, who is present in his Archa Vigraha, the incarnation of the deity in the temple. Right? Shishi Radha Vinod. So, and every temple has got wonderful deities. One should fix one's mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. So, how many of it takes darshan of lotus feet of the Lord? Right? The fingernails, and the tip of the feet, which is like pinkish, reddish, isn't it? And the flower kept in between the two lotus feet. Actually, that is a safe position which we all should aspire for. Right? Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitam maam vishame bhavam buddho krupaya tava pada pankaja sthita dhuli sadrisham vichintaya. So, oh Lord, I am fallen here. Please pick me up and put me as one dust particle, not even a flower, one dust particle at your lotus feet. And that is the aspiration of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he is teaching us that we should also aspire for that. And what do we do after attaining that? Serve. ऐसे नहीं होता है कि शांति से बैठेंगे ना, सेवा करना है. Right? So, position at the lotus feet of the Lord means to ask for his service. So we should also always engage in his worship. If we engage our speech in describing the activities of the Lord and our ears in hearing about the pastimes, and if we follow the regulative principles to keep the mind intact for advancing in Krishna consciousness, we shall certainly be elevated to the spiritual platform. At the time of death, the mind, intelligence and ego will no longer be materially contaminated. Right? अगर हम पूरा जिंदगी भर ऐसे प्रैक्टिस करेंगे, भगवान के चरण के दर्शन करना, भगवान का दर्शन करना, भगवान के बारे में सुनना, भगवान के बारे में कीर्तन करना, so what will happen at the time of death? Subtle body will be fully purified. No material contamination. कोई भौतिक इच्छा नहीं है. Right? When Srila Prabhupada asked at the time of his last moments, "Koi इच्छा है Prabhupada ji?" "Koi इच्छा नहीं. I am done with all the desires." But even spiritual desires. And Prabhupada started 108 temples and so many other projects. And people ask, "Prabhupada, how will this run? You have to stay back." "No, my disciples are there, and they will take care. Mere koi ichha nahi. I am going to Krishna." So in this way, one should give up all material and managerial anxieties at the time of death and peacefully go back home, back to Godhead. And that's possible to the degree we have practiced. See, some people say, "Prabhu ji, हम जिंदगी भर कुछ भी करेंगे और मरते समय कृष्ण का फोटो रख के मर जाएंगे." Right? But is it possible to think of Krishna at the time of death, even if Krishna photos are all around? Right? Because what we see is the impressions in the subtle body. If the subtle body is not purified enough, even if somebody keeps Krishna photo, फिर भी उसको लड़की याद आएगी या कुछ तो और याद आएगा, क्योंकि subtle body में वो है. Right? So much of contamination is there. So that's why one should try to purify the subtle body so that at the time of death, our body, mind only thinks of Krishna. Isn't it? So that's possible by lifetime of practice, not just by moment of practice, but by lifetime of practice. So the living entity is present. The living entity is present, and the mind, intelligence and ego are also present. When the mind, intelligence and ego are purified, all the active senses of the living entity become spiritual. Thus, the living entity attains his Satchidananda form. Prabhupada ji बता रहे कि जब भक्ति करते हैं तो अपना subtle body भी purify हो जाता है, वो भी spiritual बन जाता है, spiritualized. Just like iron in contact with fire becomes fiery. Right? आप कुछ भी आग में डालो, आग बन जाता है. Similarly, when you put our consciousness in Krishna's service, then consciousness also becomes spiritualized, Krishna conscious. So there is a verse in Bhagavatam, 3rd canto. What is that? Subtle body also, nigirinam analoyatha, right? When you engage your body and mind in Krishna's service, then what happens is all the material contamination is burnt away and only spiritual consciousness remains. So that is very high stage of Krishna consciousness where all the material portion is burnt away, only spiritual portion remains. Thus the living entity attains his Satchidananda form. The Supreme Lord is always in his Satchidananda form, but the living entity, although part and parcel of the Lord, becomes materially contaminated when it desires to come to the material world for material enjoyment. Right? So Atma Satchidananda hai, Bhagavan bhi Satchidananda hai, but when we desire to enjoy separately, then we get contaminated. Wahi contamination. The main contamination is what? Forgetfulness of Krishna, disobedience to Krishna. Like people do so many sins, but the cause of all these sins is the original sin. And what is that original sin? Forgetfulness of Krishna, disobedience to Krishna. And that is the original sin. And all other things are consequences of that. So if you set right that thing, if you become obedient to Krishna, then all other things will be all right. So that's why problems in this world are not because of whatever. The only problem is forgetfulness of Krishna. Because of this one problem, so many other problems are happening. It can be crimes or pollutions, or it can be corruption. Everything is because of lack of God consciousness. There is no fear of God. They think God does not exist and they can do anything they want. But they are accountable. Right? Yamaraj is watching. Yamaraj का नाम है, Yamaraj के सेक्रेटरी का नाम है चित्रगुप्त. चित्र लेते हैं, उसको स्टोर करते रहते हैं. Moment by moment, second by second, whatever we do, he is recording it and is keeping it. And he use it as evidence when the right time comes. So these people who are doing corruption, who are doing all these sinful reactions, they are ignorant of this, but they will be taken to task by Yamaraj. Right? So, but devotees are more compassionate. What they do? They enter into their life and try to change their karma so that they will not go to hell. Isn't it? Tadvag visargo janatagha viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abadhavatyapi namanyanantasya shonkitani yat shrunvanti gayanti grinanti sadhava. So it is said that no, like devotees are doing book distribution. What are you doing? You are interfering in their sinful life. Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Bhagavad Gita lijiye, Bhagavatam lijiye. And what are we doing with that? We are interfering in their sinful life. We are trying to stop it and turn them towards Krishna. And or some devotees are going to the college and doing preaching, telling the boys, right? Add Krishna into your life. Study Bhagavad Gita also. So that's interference in their sinful. Agha Viplava. There will be a revolution in the sinful life of the people. And then what will happen? If they become devotees, then Yamaraj ka ticket cancel ho jata hai. Yamlok ka ticket cancel. And they'll be here, they practice Krishna consciousness, go back to God. So materially contaminated mind and senses is the cause of suffering of people. And devotees by preaching Krishna consciousness are purifying them. So they go to Naga Sankirtan, people are hearing Sankirtan, they get purified. And they take the card, they come here for Gita class, they chant Hare Krishna, they take prasad, they get more purified. So in this way, devotees are doing the best welfare activity. Right? Compared to other welfare activity, this is the best because you are stopping their sufferings. So that's why we should preach more and stop more and more people's suffering. That's the purpose of these temples, of all our centers. What? This only, to spread Krishna consciousness so that people's life will become pure. So the prescription for returning home back to Godhead is given by the Lord Himself in Bhagavad Gita 9.34. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyajimam namaskuru mamevaishyasi yuktvaivam atmanam matparayanaha. Always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage to me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. So this Prabhupada is telling that we can purify our subtle body by thinking of Krishna and go back home, back to God. So when we are practicing Krishna consciousness, we should help each other also to purify our subtle body by helping in chanting, by reading together, by preaching together, by sharing Krishna Katha with each other and with others. Mat chitta madgata prana bodhayantaha parasparam. By doing these activities together, what is happening? Our subtle body, our consciousness is getting purified. Then we can naturally think of Krishna. And we should help each other to think of Krishna. It help wake up in the morning. Prabhu, 4 o'clock, please get up. It's time for Mangalarti. Right? So it's time for class, it's time for... We should remind each other, help each other to purify our consciousness. Otherwise, material life we have enjoyed so many lifetimes. Okay, this one life let's give to Krishna so that we don't come back again into this material world. Okay, I'd like to pause here. So basically today we discussed about how the dream, the soul identifies with the dream, goes out of this body, again comes back into this body and then forgets the dream. Similarly, death means what? From this body, we go to another body and forget this body, isn't it? So, and this transmigration is happening, it's possible because of subtle body only. So, as long as contamination there is subtle body, we take another body. If it is pure, then we go back to Krishna Loka. So, this is the essence of this shloka. Hare Krishna. Sorry, किसी का कोई comments, questions? Yes, Prabhuji.
The presence of soul is in the heart and is telling that because of this soul, heart is pumping the blood. So by dreaming, the soul is going to our body. Even then, heart is pumping the blood.
Yeah, the connection. Although the driver has gone out of the car, control is with him only. Okay, like you park the car, engine is on, you go out, and you come back inside. So similarly, the soul has gone, but the control is still there. So wherever the soul is, It's controlling this body.
Even then is control.
Yeah, it's controlling this body and it continues to function. Death means what? That connection is cut. Right? या गाड़ी कोई और चोरी करके लेके गया, कोई एक्सीडेंट कर दिया. The connection between you and the body is cut. Right? That is called death. So in the dream, the connection still remains, although the soul is going out. Like your home is there, it's not that always you're in the home. Right? If somebody has a home, you're there in the home, but sometimes you go out for office, sometimes, but you come back to the home. Similarly, soul also goes somewhere, comes back to this home. Correct? So that's how we have to understand this. Huh.
The ghost, how it's very dangerous, it doesn't have grasp of it, and it wants to, it possesses. So, how, means if somebody is so negativity like that, but how it dominates the one soul? Means is it that in single body two souls are existing at the same time?
So how it dominates the other soul? Yeah, if its mind is weak, generally people who are having weak mind and those who are unclean and who are in tamoguna, they don't have the defense mechanism. Right? Generally people in sattva will not get affected by ghosts. Those who are having tamasic gunas and bad habits and mind is weak, such people get possessed by ghosts. But those who are chanting Hare Krishna, whose subtle body is pure, then ghosts can't come near. Hare Krishna sunte bhag jate hai. They can't affect much. Right? Once, Prabhupada says one story in Prayagraj. Once I was writing my book and one ghost came. And this fellow was king in the past life. And he had become a ghost. And he came to disturb Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, chant Hare Krishna. Then it didn't come again. So ghosts are there. They are there. Don't have to be afraid of that. But if you're chanting Hare Krishna, they will not affect you. In fact, you will help them. Right? They are suffering, but by your chanting, loud chanting, you are helping them to get advanced, get a better body. Right? You are relieving them from suffering. And Prabhupada once went to London. He went to one estate. And then devotees said, Prabhupada, here a lot of ghosts were there. Right? But then Prabhupada said, now you have done Kirtan, they are all liberated. So you don't have to worry. You continue your programs. Isn't it? And Prabhupada initially took many buildings. Most of them were like abandoned, haunted places. Devotees went, did loud Kirtan and made into a temple and nothing happened. They continued their bhakti there. Isn't it? They are there. But those who are weak, they disturb them. But those who are strong, they will not come near. And we don't have to be afraid of them. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji. सपने में हाँ.
तो ये बता रहे थे कि शरीर के अंदर आत्मा और परमात्मा जो है, तो क्या इसको ऐसे समझ सकते हैं कि आत्मा जाती है और परमात्मा अंदर रहता है, इसके कारण शरीर
बहुत
इंजन है जो चल रहा है परमात्मा
आत्मा परमात्मा के ऊपर निर्भर है ना. आत्मा इज डिपेंडेंट ऑन परमात्मा. वेरी इंटेलिजेंट थॉट. आत्मा इज डिपेंडेंट ऑन Paramatma, surely. And in fact, the body cannot function without Paramatma. Bhagavan बोलते 15 अध्याय में ना, सर्वस्य चाहम हृदय सन्निविष्टो मत्तः स्मृतिर्ज्ञानम अपोहनम च. राइट. भगवान ही हमको सब कुछ दे रहे हैं. भगवान यदादित गतम तेजो जगत भासेति खिलम यच्चंद्रमसि चाग्म तत्त्व विधिमामकम. भगवान सूर्य चंद्र को देते हैं. भगवान खाना देते हैं. भगवान अंदर बैठ के खाना पचाते हैं. राइट. भगवान के ऊपर निर्भर है. राइट. सो आत्मा परमात्मा दोनों साथ में ही हैं. सो आत्मा भटक भी गया तो भगवान उसको लेके आते हैं. चलो वापस. और जाने का समय आएगा तो भगवान जी आते हैं उनके साथ. चलो तुम्हारे साथ मैं भी आता हूँ. कौन सा योनि में जाना है उधर हेल्प करता हूँ तुमको। यस, हरे कृष्णा। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रीमद् भागवत महापुराण की जय। हरे कृष्णा।